Yeah.
Okay, so we're recording. Welcome, everybody. On this, I don't know if it's raining where you guys are, but it's a little bit raining over here. So our guidance AQ teachers are here for part one guidance and also part two. And so welcome. Some students may be joining us as we go along because they've told me that they'll come in a few minutes later. But very grateful to let you guys know about JP Michel. I know most of you did see his keynote when he was at the OSCA conference. As you know, he's the founder and head coach of SparkPath, and he helps schools, companies prepare people for the future of work. And I'd like to welcome him this evening as he tells us a little bit more about moving beyond the concept of just job titles. So welcome, JP, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for your time. I always consider it a privilege to get to speak with and work with people who do what you do. And my passion's helping people reach their potential. And I think that's something that we probably share. And Angela's invited me to participate in these calls. I think it's our third one that we do together. But I always wanted to ask you on the call, how hard is Angela's program? How difficult is it? How difficult is she making your lives? You can tell me in the chat, but I want some input.
Well, apparently I added a new assignment.
Yeah, I can input. I don't want to reflect anymore. No.
Is it Felicia?
Yes.
Is it a good time to ask you or a bad time to ask you?
No, it's a good time.
Okay.
There is a new assignment that was due like May 9th. Okay.
Surprise.
Stressing me out. No. He's good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I studied industrial organizational psychology. It led me to 8 years of human resources consulting. I work with these different companies and I got to see how careers work within them. And I learned a lot. And everything that we were doing with leaders to help them level up and reach their potential, I thought there's so much of this that we can do with young people. And the reason I said I was excited to meet with guidance counselors and teachers who work with people is because I think we take on a special role when we do that. And the role, I've called it scientists of human potential. And yes, it is a made up job title, but bear with me. The reason I say scientist is because we help people look at themselves through a microscope. We want them to discover what? We want them to look inside and discover their values, what they care about. We want young people to discover their strengths, what they're good at. We want them to develop their abilities. We want them to figure out what their interests are. All of this work that we're doing is important because it heightens their level of self-awareness, which gives them a stronger inner compass. You may see, if you're watching through your screen, my very poor drawing of your inner compass. I hope at least it highlights what I'm trying to say, because this compass is very important and it points them to different roads in the future. Traditionally, we've asked young people, what do you want to be when you grow up? And unfortunately, the answer to that is a job title. A lot of them think it supposes that they should answer with doctor, engineer, lawyer. There's a handful of job titles that they know. But really, we all know that most of them are going to change job titles several times over the course of their careers. It's only a very, very small group of them that will have a linear career trajectory where they hold just one job title. So instead of pointing them to a job title, it's important to help them discover problems, challenges, and opportunities to work on. I've seen that when I was consulting, and it led me to ask young people, what's the problem that you want to solve? Can you guess what they told me when I asked them that question? They had no idea. They had no idea what to say because we haven't prepared them to think about their career that way. So what I did is I created this deck of cards called the challenge cards. And the idea was that I could show them quite simply a set of challenges, a suite of problems that they could solve. And then they would get to pick the ones that they feel called to, the ones that they're interested in, the ones that they're not interested in. Once they pick a challenge, then we can do all sorts of cool research to help them better understand what's going on in the world of work. And the little people on my path here are the people that they think are working on interesting things. So if they pick the challenge of increased sustainable energy, we can find someone for them that is currently working on that. And people in the workplace love helping students and young people. They love helping them discover the world of work, and we can call in for help. The last piece of this puzzle is the bridge between who they are and what they want to do. And this is the education program. So when a parent asks their 16-year-old, what do you want to study in university? What program do you want to take in college? It's really the last piece of this process. Once they've discovered more about who they are, the impact that they want to have on the world, and how to get there. Thanks for letting me drone on about this, but I think it's useful background for our discussion today. I certainly want it to be a discussion. Some of you have sent me questions already, which I'm going to hit on right away, but I'd love for us to come up with some other questions and discussion points through the conversation. So, Angela, are we good? Can I just keep going through this? Here's a new piece, Angela, that you haven't seen yet. I am taking steps to digitize the challenge cards. Even though I love watching students work on the challenge cards when they have it in their hands, I also want them to have the experience whether or not their cards are available in their classroom or not. So I just sent you a link through the chat. And if you are so inclined, I would like to invite you to do the card sort yourselves now. It's quite simply, you copy paste the URL, mysparkpath.netlify.com. And could I get a volunteer from the group to just give me a quick hands up, I've accessed the site, it works, I see a purple screen, I got there and it works. Sarah, you got there? Sarah, you went first place, by the way, because you got there the fastest. Angela's going to give you the prize afterwards. We didn't determine what it is yet, but you're going to get it.
Okay, I'm just going to say that if I do that, I'll probably end up leaving. Not I will be mistakenly hang up because I don't think I can do both. I'm just going to
find out. Let's find out. Now that you've said that,
I don't even know what to do that.
Now that you've said that, I'm going to ask you at the end when you're done, what was your most interested card?
I need my 16-year-old to do it for me.
You can set it to them too. But so now I'm going to ask the opposite question. Is there anyone in the group that couldn't access it, that the site is not working for them, or that they're stuck somewhere? Gloria's got it.
Can you give us the site one more time? Because I don't seem to have access to any, I can't see any presentation or anything. I can just see everybody's faces.
That's got to be annoying. I wouldn't want to look at my face for 2 hours. So here's what I'd suggest you do. Leanne, if you go to the bottom of the screen, do you see the function where it says invite participants, share, chat, record? Do you see that one?
No, I don't even have that. I just have the bar of people's faces, and I can go small speaker video. It's it's disappeared.
What if you hit the escape key just once?
Oh, I don't know where everybody went now.
Or if you click.
Oh, wait, it's back. It's back. That worked. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
And then after that, you click on chat at the bottom.
Okay, thanks.
And then do you see the URL there?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
No,
you're welcome.
That was weird.
Oh, there it is.
Elizabeth, I see you waving. That means that I'm guessing you got in. No, that means you're not in.
I'm in.
Yeah, you're in. But Elizabeth, do you have the link?
Do I need to get in?
No.
You don't have the link either?
No.
I don't have the link.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Can I show you where the chat is?
I'm on an iPad.
You're on an iPad, so you might have trouble finding the chat function. Do you see the chat function at the bottom?
No.
Neither, right?
It's up at the top.
Steve, you have an iPad too? It's up at the top, the chat?
Well, when you click on the picture, it comes down from the top, any picture that's on, just click on the middle of your screen.
I have an iPad, not a Mac.
No, I have an iPad.
You have an iPad? I don't. I have mute, stop video, share contact, participants, and more.
It's participants. Click on participants. That's the chat. And then you click on Jean-Philippe's name.
Thank you. Okay.
Steve, what would we do without you? We're lucky you're here.
Thank you.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, we're there. We're here.
Okay, great.
So I'm not, but is it necessary for me to be there?
Okay,
Honestly.
well, how
Like I
about this?
can't even I see the link, myspark.net, but I can't, it's not like I can't open it. Like, I can't like click on it.
Copy and paste. Try copy and pasting it.
Yeah. So where do I paste it? Like 2 screens.
Do you
You're
have
putting
a
me over
phone?
the edge here. Can I take back my comment of the teacher and what people she selects to? No, I'm kidding.
Felicia, do you have a phone?
Yeah.
I'll email
Oh,
it.
do that.
I'm going to email it to you and you do it on your phone.
Seriously.
Is that okay, JP?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I do when I'm on conferences is people type out mysparkpath.netlify.
I can do it. I'll go online. I'll just go online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
now I'm waiting for another volunteer, the first person who has actually gone through and clicked through and done the card sort. That means green flag or whatever, meaning you can start go. You've probably seen the instructions. You separate the deck into 3 piles. I'm not interested. I'm interested. I'm very interested. I'm pretending like it's a race, but in real life, it's definitely not a race. Take as much time as you want. But the idea is that you can click through and see these challenges, and you get a feel for what it would be like if you were, one of your students that was going through the exercise. So no rush, but once you're done, just give me a heads up. Let me know that you're done, and then I'd love to ask you how it went.
I'm done.
Karen, you're done.
Karen.
Sorry. You guys were all chatting. I was doing. I had a task.
You're so funny.
Good. So while everyone's
I had a task.
I know you had a task.
while everyone's
There, I finished.
starting that, Steve is done too. So I'll start with Karen. Karen, how did it go?
Done.
It went really fast. I just made decisions like without a lot of thought, and then I had to narrow it down to the 3 cards after because I'd chosen a fair amount.
Okay. Would you mind telling us the top cards that you picked?
Wonder if I can get back to it because I went to, just let me see if I can get back to it.
Oh, actually, you might not.
I don't think I can get backwards. I tried to go back in the screen and I couldn't get back. One was to help, I remember, one was to help future leaders. One was to, let me just see. Oh, I might be able to get back. Here we are. Oh, no, I'm back to the beginning by going back.
Fair enough. But you had prepare future leaders as one of your top 3?
Yeah, the distribute wealth, help future leaders, and something else. I can't remember.
Oh, good. Well, you remember 2 out of 3. I'm glad already. Now, what you see is a prototype that was built by a team of 7 volunteer designers and 7 volunteer developers, coders, over the course of 1 weekend. I had gotten estimates before that weekend of how much this would cost, and I got a range between $15,000 and $20,000. I don't have $20,000 lying around, so I'm extremely lucky that this team of people volunteered to take on my project at a hackathon called Random Hacks of Kindness. And the idea is that the organizer of the conference saw the social value of what I'm trying to do and convinced the team to do it. So my vision is to polish what you saw today. There's a few functionality things I need to change and improve, but then it could be widely available. Some of you may say to me, hey, we have too much technology in the classroom. What we want is the actual cards and people use them. And that's being done now. I sold 3,000 decks of cards last year. They're being used at McGill, Queen's, U of T, Waterloo, McGill. So many different Canadian universities have them. Most of them do at this point. We also have colleges, and we're getting colleges in the US as well. And my idea is that people will get to pick whether they want to do it online or whether they want to buy the actual cards.
Perfect.
Will that online piece have the same piece as the cards where you like go and find a partner? Will it have those questions to discuss with somebody else?
Oh, you've already used them.
I bought a set. I saw you at OSCA and I bought one set because I'm an instructional program leader and I facilitate learning with elementary student success teachers.
Great.
And I just wanted to use them and see how they would as something maybe to perhaps promote with them, perhaps buying a couple sets for their classrooms or grade 8s or 7s.
Fantastic. So how's it going so far?
Well, I only have one set, and I didn't realize that you did need a partner, because I also had my son play through it, and he seemed to like it. So I think it's a really great activity, but definitely you would need 2 sets because it has that partner piece. But online, maybe if those questions were embedded, like talk to somebody else, or just so you have a conversation, because I'm okay with being online, but it's nice then to have that conversation with the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just update the group on what we're talking about. The idea is that once you pick your favorite challenges, there's so many avenues of exploration. I made some suggestions in the instructions of the cards, but other teachers have given me a ton.
I would like to know how I can take all 3 and meld them together into something.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Sorry.
Does that mean he agrees or disagrees?
I suspect there's a cat outside.
Okay.
He's not a very barky dog, so it's definitely something. I will mute for a minute.
That's good. So Karen told us exactly what she wants to do afterwards. What about you, Steve? You got your 3, you pick your top 3. What's the next thing that you want to do immediately after that?
I found it hard to, when I was in high school, I would have answered differently, I think. And because I think I had sort of idealistic views of what I was going to do. I picked things that are related to my current career, really, in the end here.
Yeah.
Whereas, because I have an engineering degree.
Okay.
And so I went and became an engineer. And then what I think I would want to, what's missing, which probably comes later, is what you like to do day to day. Because I liked the idea of coming up with solutions to stuff in engineering, but then actually doing it, I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I much more enjoy helping people reach their potential and all more sort of education type stuff. So I wonder, is there a difference between these are the problems that I want to solve and this is what I like to do?
That's right. Yeah, there is, and it's just later in the process. But I agree with you that it's very important. And I think you might have been exposed to everyone here the Holland codes as an instrument for people's preferences and their interests, right? So people will go do the strong interest inventory, or they'll do another version of it on career cruising or my blueprint, and then part of that is your day-to-day preferences. Like, are you someone who does some, real concrete, tangible things? Do you like the beauty, the aesthetics of things? Do you like connecting, interacting, helping people? All of that is taken into account. And then it spits out a list of job titles. Certainly part of what I'm doing is advocating that that's not the only approach and that there's another dimension that we need to do. But I don't want to take away from the fact that that's one part of the recipe. I just think that we've taken that approach far too seriously. So seriously that what we're saying is all we need to do is match kids. So you're 16, we'll match you. It says, a vending machine, officer, the person who fills out the vending machine, or it says clown, or it says doctor. It's okay to laugh at this point, but these are real things.
So can I just cut in for a sec? We had an assignment like this where we had to implement these, and I did it with my 16-year-old.
Okay.
And he first of all, he was like, give me the shortest ones. I don't want to do anything that's going to take longer than 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then he did it, and his matches were totally wrong. He was like, Mom, this is exactly the opposite. I didn't say yes to any of these things. And I said, well, let's maybe do it again. We did it wrong. He's like, I'm not doing it again. I'll do another one. Right. And then he said to me, and I wrote this, I got to be honest, because I was like, well, how do you feel about all this? And he's like, I have to be honest. Most people my age, we live in the moment. I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing. Like, I literally am thinking about what's happening right now and then I want to leave. Like it's not even on their mind. They don't want anything to do with it seems. And so that's my kid. And I thought maybe he's being disagreeable because he doesn't want to be with me. But I went and got a whole bunch of his friends and they're all like, we don't really care right now. But it's true. It's like, it's too much. Like they match with, like, it's meaningless to them. Those things, they're meaningless. Now I can't really go through the car. Like my phone's not really working, whatever. My internet's not great, but just the fact that it's digital and it's more hands-on, I think that it would be more interesting. Like that's way more appealing, I think.
Yeah. I'm personally, even though this is what I love to do, I'm not mad at your son, and I completely understand. If I was being asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I know nothing about the world of work, and it feels like I have to pick a job title for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
The career development course, the grade 10 course that some of you have taught, will teach, the people who have taught it. In Alberta, it's the most failed class. Why? Because we're using this old style of match people with job titles. So if your son and other students that you see feel discouraged when faced with that, I don't blame you.
Yeah, no, it is the most, I don't know why it's in grade 10. Like, I don't understand because it's not really on their radar. But sure. Absolutely, it's one of the most failed courses here too. In fact, I had a teacher tell me with my older son, we're just all trying to get through it, even the teachers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I asked a bunch of teachers, what do you guys do for this course? Because I'm not teaching it. And they're like, they just scroll through Blueprint. Like, it truly is. It's like you need someone who really, like you, who they need someone like that to teach it. It's almost like the teacher needs to bring in a guest lecturer like you to teach that portion. Or find.
Well, I should tell you, I appreciate your comments. I should tell you, I still have hope. And that's why I'm on the call tonight. Yeah, and it's not about hope for me. It's you. Like if you all are on this call tonight, it's because you can be that person.
Yeah.
And at one point, it's the next level is you building a career development culture in your school, which sounds counterintuitive because career development, nobody wants to do career development. I wouldn't want to do career development. Career development means matching a kid to a job title. No, you have the chance to reinvent that. That means who's going to be your ally in the school? Is it your math teacher that's also your friend? Can you convince them to stick the challenge cards with white tack on their classroom wall so that when a student says, sir, why are we learning this? Miss, why are we learning this formula? How is this going to apply to my life? Then they can go to that challenge card and say, look, you see this card, collect and use big data. In the future, everything will have the internet. Your notebook will have a chip in it because it's going to be so cheap to put a chip in it. The company that manufactures the notebook won't be able to resist. So now you've got a ton of data about notebooks, where they're traveling, how they're moving, how they vibrate during the day, usability. You need people to be you need people to interpret all that data and analyze it and make sense out of it. That's why we're learning this statistical formula so that you can interpret, this world of data. All of these connections, you've got teachers that love teaching content, but there are connections with real world problems, whether it's the math class or the history class. And my little wish is that you can make those connections for those teachers so that they get excited, and they don't have to say, do this, you'll become a mathematician. Do this, you'll become a historian. The approach I'm sharing now with problems is a bit more complex than that, but it reflects the world of work much more accurately. I want to go back to something, and then I want to open it up to questions. And I just want to go back to those of you who didn't get a chance to speak yet. What did you want to do after you picked your top 3 challenges? Is there someone that didn't get a chance to share? Or I want to know what you thought. What do you want to know after your 3 challenges? Anne-Marie, you want to go first?
Well, I'm just thinking out of this, what I know about myself, my skills, how do they help any of these problems? So if I'm looking at, one of my things was protect biodiversity and landscape. Well, I don't know how that would match my skills, let's say. So I think that's something that I would be interested in exploring. Like, it's not a pipe dream, but I can connect to it,
Are you saying how do I do it? How do I connect to this?
Mm-hmm. With what I know as a 16-year-old or whatever, what I know of myself, if I don't see myself in those in being able to deal with that challenge, then how do I make that connection?
I like when you say the word see myself, right? Because it goes beyond kind of the analytical skill matching. It's like kind of like visualizing.
That's what I was saying. That's the hardest challenge. Like my kid, he's like, I live in the moment, Mom. I can't see myself doing anything and, you know, spike ball in the park, right?
Oh, I like spike ball.
Yeah.
I like spike ball. Harold, you had a comment as well.
Just unmute. And so my comment is, I'm going back to the careers course. We were very fortunate in our school that we have a vocational school. So we've pushed the careers course into grade 11, and we've made co-op mandatory, 4-credit co-op, kind of a West credit compulsory course. So here we start with the careers investigations a year later and a year before the students wrap up and finish high school. So that's one way we address that. So that year of maturity seems to make quite a bit of a difference. Grade 10 has a lot of compulsory courses, grade 11 less so, and we've just done that. So just shared that.
Thank you for sharing.
That's a really good idea. It is huge because grade 10, they're like kind of checked out a bit. They're like, we've done grade 9. We're too cool for school. Like they're not ready. Like they're like, whatever, right? And I agree. Like that is such a good idea. Making it mandatory like that, it worked. It's made a difference in 1 year because they can actually picture themselves. Oh my God, we only have a year to go. I got to think about something now. Now it matters, right?
Maybe I'm just naive and looking at this through a totally elementary lens, but I think we should be starting earlier. Not so much in selecting a career, but working through some of these cards and figuring out what problems you want to solve. Like waiting until grade 11, it's too late. Some of them are taking compulsory courses for their post-secondary, right? Like they should be starting to think about what their skills are, what they enjoy, what type of work environment that they're going to want to work in, you know, what best matches their skills like at the end of elementary and into grade 9 and 10 so that they have an idea that you can't go into grade 11 and be totally clueless anymore because you don't have that OSCE year to catch yourself, right? Like, I don't know.
I would agree. I think that, I don't know, boards differ, but I know in our board, we're at Halton, and we really focus on education and career life planning. And I think cards like these, having conversations using my blueprint, they don't need to pick a career, but I think they need to understand that they need to start thinking about it and think about what their skills and their interests are. And I was going to say one suggestion might be after you select those top 3 is, could you connect them to those 4 questions in the Creating Pathways to Success document? So like, who am I? Who do I want to become? What are my opportunities? So is there some kind of template or something to fill in? So the one you fill in the most, that might be, they match with the cards. I don't know, just making those connections for the kids. But I agree with what was just said about in elementary, we're starting that conversation, and we're in our board right now. We're actually pushing any K to 6 even.
Yeah, I agree with that too. There's a lot of statistics to back up that grade 7 is actually the best time to start introducing this topic to kids. They are thinking about their futures, but they're not feeling so overwhelmed. That fear is kind of guiding them. They're still feeling optimistic and excited about it. And we've been working with grade 7s and 8s in the transition pathway counseling position, and they've been very receptive and very excited, and they do want to talk about it. They really enjoy it.
I just wanted to add that.
Sorry,
go ahead. Who's talking?
Oh, it's Karen.
Go ahead.
I was just going to, and maybe because I'm with Leanne in the same board, but that's kind of our philosophy. Like because I'm the Reengagement counselor, I get kids typically who are 16 to 19. And when I have these conversations with them and talk about, you know, not a career as much as what do you see yourself doing day to day? I do that. Do you see yourself outside, inside? Like we do, what does your day look like kind of conversation when I first meet them. A lot of times we get to, oh, I wish a teacher had talked to me about this. Like, why didn't somebody tell me this 2 years ago? Or why didn't, because I've just been taking all the courses because people told me to. And so it's, so from their perspective, they would have, and these are not academic kids typically. These are kids who like, why didn't somebody sit down and have this conversation with me sooner? I always go, well, we're having it now.
So I think when you get them in the earlier grades too, it kind of reminds them what school's all about, and that every skill is valuable, and that there's jobs in all of those areas. So even if it's not a traditionally academic type thing, they can still find work, that sort of thing. I mean, even with my cards, it comes up with art. That's probably the most important one for me. So just reminding those kids, you know what, you can get great jobs in art, you can get great jobs in music and using your hands, all that kind of stuff. So just to re-engage them before they've disengaged, I think is valuable.
I think some of the reluctance is fear, right? Like, because as when they're in grade 7, like a bunch of them will tell us, well, I'm only 12. I don't need to know what I'm going to be when I grow up. And we absolutely reassure them. And they're like, no, you don't. We want you to start thinking about, you know, some of those other things, like what you like and all those different things and who you are, and start looking for opportunities for you to test drive so that you're prepared to make those decisions when it's age appropriate for you to do so. When they're in grade 10, they know they're on the cusp of, like, they know all of a sudden next year my marks are going to count. And I need to know what courses I need to take, because some of these are going to go towards my university or a college or apprenticeship. So like, it's a little bit more scary. And then I think you get that like the roadblocks thrown up because you're like, I don't want to deal with this. But like the reception that you get with grade 7s and 8s is very positive because it's just fun. It's just exploring. There's no pressure. It's just, yeah, fun.
One of the things I was going to add was that I always use language, especially in presentations with parents and kids, and about the next step, right? It's not the rest of my life. And I like the way, I think you had done it one time, JP, where the first time I saw the cards, where you didn't even talk really about like you didn't really talk about what they were. You just put us in groups and said, would you rather do this or this? Or would you rather this or this? So I find the most disengaged kids that really feel like they have no future really actually love these, you know. And I find that the most anxious kids that put so much pressure on themselves to be that one thing actually broaden and look at, wow, I never thought that maybe I like the accounting part of the medical piece, you know. So I try to stay away from for the rest of my life, because I think that goes along with the job title and the 25-year watch, which I just got my 31 from York Region, which I can't wear because it says York Region right at the beginning. Anyways, and that's not going to happen. So it lets them look at what's the challenge today, right? Like what really pisses you off and bugs you today, and tomorrow it might be something else, and tomorrow might be something else, right? So I don't know, that's kind of how it's evolved with our careers classes. We were fortunate because our board bought card set for every you know, JP was came to speak to our board, and so we're lucky everybody in the careers in our board, most of them do the career the challenge cards. So we're lucky. And then as guidance counselors, and this was going to be my topic next week, was how do you take that need now that you know, and how could you now get everybody on board so they're doing what JP said about the math and those cards in on that wall in math? How could you teach everybody to do that? So how could you bring that in for your whole staff because you have this opportunity as guidance counselors? So anyways, I'll stay quiet now.
Harold mentioned an event that Nicole Trotter Williams ran at her school, grades 6, 7, and 8. The students chose their favorite challenge. Nicole is really well connected with the alumni from her school. She's got people to come speak. And instead of a traditional career fair where everyone's at a booth selling their job title, the speakers came and spoke about the problems that they were working on. And the idea was just to inspire young people. And she coached the alumni not to speak about job titles, but to speak about problems, which turned out to be a very easy job because they already understood the world of work in that way. It was very natural to them. I love the list of things you've just come up. I want to call a few of them out. Allison, you mentioned the class career connection, the class challenge connection. I love when students can understand I'm in the classroom and I'm getting to learn this that's going to help me do this thing that I want to do. That's useful at the university level, but it must be useful earlier than that as well. We're getting them to develop the instincts of exploring. You don't need to commit right now to something, but you need to learn how to find stuff you like. You haven't learned that yet. You need to practice, and you need to get it wrong. You need to get it right and kind of feel things out. So developing that reflex to explore, getting that sense of independence that, you know, even though your parents make your lunch for you every day and you never even chose what to eat for lunch, you're going to have to make some big decisions soon. I'm serious. You know, sometimes people ask me, does the challenge method work? Well, wait a minute. You know, I'm working with some kids who are 19 and have never made a meal for themselves. Like, don't put too much pressure on the challenge method, right? But that's what you're up against. You're up against a lot, okay? Society's going to keep asking them want to be grow up. They're going to keep reinforcing this idea that they'll be just one thing. You're going to have to fight and break that down. So the earlier you can get to them, the earlier you inspire them to think of problems they can solve, the better. You know, the more that they're going to tune out the other messages of commitment and the old style. So some of you sent me questions ahead of time. So I'm just going to address a few of those questions, and then I certainly want to answer more. So can you just give me a heads up if you see this slide? Nope. Are you still there?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, we're good.
We're good.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
I was able to see the slide.
Me too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me too. It was good.
Oh,
Yep. Now we see the slide again.
I'm sorry, I lost everybody for
Yes, so did I.
about 60 seconds. We're back?
yeah.
Yep. Can you guys hear okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you adapt the challenge cards to use with a single student or a very small group of students? This was the original application, is to do it with one person, and then we adapted it and built it to do it with multiple people at the same time. People ask me how long it takes, and I have a very bad answer for that. My bad answer is it takes between 1 minute and 1 semester. So what that means is that 1 minute is a wonderful icebreaker to your first session that's going to get them engaged talking about their futures. That's 1 minute. And the whole semester means systematically becoming a challenge explorer, a challenge researcher who sees the world with problems, opportunities, and challenges to solve. As someone who understands how to go from a challenge to company to people to education programs, and I'll explain more about how to do that process. I think that's actually the next question. How do you go to the next step? Those of you who are really web savvy, you can go Google right now, companies that increase sustainable energy. Increased sustainable energy is a card that's often picked by young people. And if you Google companies that increase sustainable energy, you'll find names of companies. You'll find blog posts with lists of companies that are doing great work in the environment. So that's what I ask students to do, and I give them this example. Then I'll ask them to start reading on a company's website. So first of all, most kids would have trouble defining what a company is. So maybe that's the first part of this, is defining what's an organization, what's a company, finding companies that they know, like maybe Nike or Puma. And then after that, on the website, how do you learn about a company? Well, then I do it with them and I show them, you'll read the About page. There's an About Us page. So go find the About Us page. Read their mission, read their values. Then if you're doing more digging, you might ask them to find the people section of the website. Who works there? Eventually, I like to teach them how to use a website called LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a directory of professionals who are working, and you can literally search by function, by job, by company. And if my wish is granted, maybe one day you'll be able to search by problem the person is solving in the world of work. So those are some of the next steps, and I just gave it to you very quickly, but if you want to talk more about that afterwards, I'm happy to do that. How do the Holland codes, the narrative approach, and meaningfulness fit into this model? The reason I bring those up is that at many career conferences, these are top of mind for people. Holland codes we've already talked about. The narrative approach is saying that instead of simply matching people, what we should be helping individuals do is create their own story. I love this. I do this with students in individual settings and group settings. I want them to learn that they are the author of their own story. They may not have gotten that message before because in class, they're sort of following a process, right? They have to be there. They're following. They've got a small menu of choices they can make. But one day they'll get to create their own story and decide where they go, what they do, who they're with. And there are different ways to empower them to do that. The challenge method connects because they get to write a story about the problem that they're going to solve. And the meaningfulness aspect really has to do with the fact that they can pick a challenge that resonates with their values. I love listening to kids talk about the problems. They always surprise me. How did you know this? How did you learn this about this problem or this card? They blow my mind constantly for what they understand. Sometimes if I'm talking about artificial intelligence, some students know more than I do about it. And I love learning from them. How would I change any cards to the challenge cards? I have already. People in position like yours have asked me for some specific things, and all the red cards that you saw are things that I added after the first time I did it. So originally the deck had 25 cards. I added 4 more things around the arts and the skilled trades, just so they were more clearly called out. You'll see those 2 topics embedded in many different cards, but people wanted them called out specifically, and I honored that for them, so I added cards. Now with the digital cards, I'll have a chance to add even more cards if I'd like to. The idea is to keep the initial sort short, because you just want to make it fun, exciting, snappy for young people. Since a lot of teachers are taking on the mission of promoting the skilled trades, I created a separate deck for the skilled trades. This is probably about a year ago or a little bit less. And what a lot of schools are doing now is they're combining the challenge cards that you just saw with the skilled trades, and they're asking students to sort both. So that answers the third question here. Please talk about the evolution and journey that you had with the skilled trades project. Well, that doesn't count the research that I did, and of course the design that went through it and the skilled trades people I talked to make it happen. But you could just imagine what that was like. Does the topic of parent reculturing come up in this discussion? Oh, I'm sorry to ask, but I'm not sure what this question means. So if ever you're the person who asked, or you know what reculturing means, just send me a quick note in the chat, and then I'd love to address that. And then I'll say one more thing about what I'm working on. I think you see you saw the digital prototype for the cards. I also have a course on a website called Teachable, teachable.com. I'll send that in the chat. Teachable.com. And what I'm doing with teachable.com is I'm helping coach students through this process myself. That's actually how I started off working in this space, is by helping students one-on-one. Parents would pay me to work with their kids, and then I'd do the work one-on-one. And now I'm trying to do more of that work, but using this online course. So if you know parents of teens who are keen to get help in that space, I just sent you the link to that website where I'm doing that. So that's what I'm working on next. If we were to speak next year in 2020, those 2 things will be combined. So the digital card sort and this course that I'm doing will be together into an app that kids will be able to download from the App Store or do from their desktop. And this, again, is going to help me reach even more people. So I kind of did that on hyperdrive mode. Let me pause there and get your thoughts, questions, reactions.
Can I ask, will the cards online be going in French like they're in the hard copy?
The version that you did, they're already in French too.
Maybe I didn't see that.
No, it's not very clear yet, but in the top, if you go to the top right corner, you can toggle English and French.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. And I would need your help to translate them in Mandarin. Could you do that for me?
I wish I could do that, but.
Okay. Well, you learn Mandarin, and then let's get back together in a year, and then I'll ask you again.
Okay.
Okay. Angela, you wrote that in your to-dos? Okay. Leanne committed publicly to this, so.
What do you do with a student who, I don't know if this has happened before, but is not interested in any challenge? Just doesn't, it's kind of like, meh. Well, which one do you prefer? Meh.
we'll work with those students, right? The most discouraged. Like, I don't know, some of you will specialize in, with working with people who have difficult situations at home. Like, this is a reality, right? Like, and the school system relies on you to do some of that work. So that's going to happen. So I'm glad you bring it up. Before doing the challenge cards, sometimes I start at another place in the model of scientists of human potential. I may start by helping them discover their values, their strengths, their interests, their abilities, because that's going to give them like I matter. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm a person. I have preferences. I don't know, I don't care, I have no idea, that's untrue. We've already delineated all these differences that you have with all these people, all these preferences, and it's a beautiful thing, and we celebrate it. So the person's going to feel more empowered. Even if you didn't have time to do that, if you just gave the deck of cards to people, in my experience, having watched hundreds, maybe more students do this, it's going to work in 99% of the cases. That 1% that's really discouraged and doesn't want to do it, I'm not upset. Think about their situation, where they're coming from. If they're so discouraged that this doesn't get them going, they're in a tough place. So if you want to inoculate against that at first, like I would do the scientists of human potential stuff first. Sometimes students sort the deck into two piles. I'm not interested and I'm interested, and so they don't fall into my forced trick of getting them to say I'm very interested in stuff, which I do on purpose. I want them to be very interested in stuff, but that's typically what I do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Harold that just added that comment, see? About the deculture of that parents just want their kids to go to university, right?
Oh, yeah. So the deculture, yeah, it's hard. And it's a hard shift to make, and I've written about this on my blog. So if ever, I don't know if this will work, but you could literally take the blog posts that I have on my website and send them to parents. I don't know if that's the best tactic, but here's the message. To me, one of the myths that we've created is that if you go into the skilled trades, you can't have an intellectual life. And I think it's a great thing to challenge. Imagine the worker who's 27, makes $110,000 a year, finishes work at 3 p.m., and now has access to the internet and library. Why doesn't that person go pick up a philosophy book or go take an online interactive class on world history? That's a chance to live an intellectual life. The university grad who's in debt and making $40,000 a year and working overtime just to get ahead, finishing at 7 o'clock, and maybe just has been pushing paper all day. What kind of intellectual life is that person having? I'm being provocative for a reason. Don't take my two examples too seriously. But this whole myth that people can't have an intellectual life in the skilled trades, I think we need to dispel that. I mean, the other parts is we know on this call that you can have a great career in the skilled trades from a salary perspective, from an hours work perspective. Those are basic things that we can send facts to parents about. But the other stuff I think is tougher, like the kind of like the social status aspects of them. That's a little bit harder to work on.
I think it's really a missed opportunity for people to just disregard it, because if they were really thinking, they would think about the opportunities that exist within the skilled trades from a managerial standpoint. One of the things, like we've had a few speakers talk about how they're recruiting women for the skilled trades because they possess a different skill set that particular field is missing. But I think it's the same for kids with strong leadership and time management, executive functioning skills, right? Like having people within the skilled trades that are able to manage those things is going to be beneficial and grow companies and fill some of the deficits that are in that area. Not saying that there are like academic deficits, but more just like in managing the resources, the time, and that sort of thing. The companies, the people within the trades that can do that are making really, really good money. And there's lots of money to be made right now because there's such a shortage. So exploring that and really taking advantage of that is, I don't know, I'm not doing a very good job of articulating myself, but
that's where, you know what, Laura, where you and Allison, what your comment about starting young comes
Mhm.
into play. Like, introduce that in
Mhm.
grade 7, that you can be whatever you want.
Mhm.
Yeah, like that's why you want to maybe start it early, so you know, the myths are dispelled. Although, like you said, can be a cultural thing with parents. It can be like, that's the tough part, right? No matter what, it's hard to change perspectives for parents.
Last week, Liz and I went on an OYAP tour, joint tour with OYAP and the colleges. We went to George Brown and Centennial. And that's one of the things that came up. Like, we were going on the tours as guidance counselors and as teachers, but maybe more importantly, parents needed to be going on those same tours, so that they could start rethinking what skilled trades are and what type of life their children could gain from having or going into the skilled trades.
Mhm.
So that was one of the suggestions that came out of going on the tour as well. That, you know, it's one thing to talk to students and go into the schools. We need to get the students to go on these same type of tours, go into the colleges, but we also need to have the parents do that as well.
I agree.
Laura, you made some great points, and maybe you don't think you did a good job explaining. I think you did a great job, and at the same time, also to me, you're making a case against the Holland Codes model, because what that would say is, if you want to send someone to the skilled trades, they need to be an R realistic. Well, what kind of workplace does that create? Everyone focused and doing stuff the same way. What if you have another person that's high in S and that social aspect of it? That's going to add a whole new dimension that's going to help them solve a different part of the problem. So I really like that you brought that up. And when you said your example, Elizabeth, I just think of, imagine the really gifted kids, the gifted kids who are not gifted academically, but are gifted with working with their hands, or gifted in terms of their perception, or gifted in terms of their ability to design. To deny those kids a career where they could excel and have a huge impact and be well rewarded for it, just for the stereotype around university, it's just, it upsets me. I'm sorry, I don't think it's Liz that was talking, but your colleague who's sitting behind. I think you guys are sitting together. Sorry.
Michelle.
Yeah, sorry, Michelle. But it made me think of that. And Steve, you're asking me, what is it like on the skilled trades? Well, first of all, there are skilled trades on the challenge cards, like increased sustainable energy. It's going to have some, like, you need a welder to be able to do that. But then the skilled trades, here, why don't I just go get it? I'll be back in 15 seconds.
I was just, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just kind of thinking that, like, if someone just likes to, like, build something that works well, or something like that, that's the kind of challenge that they like, is to sort of, like, maybe not this high level. I don't know. Maybe they're not thinking about the whole sustainable aspect of whatever they're welding. They just like to make it stand up properly and be, I don't know. But it sounds like he created a new set of cards that address that idea.
Help people who need you. Use computers and technology. Build something big, Steve.
What are we looking at?
Weather the elements.
This is for you, Steve. This is your own tailored presentation of cards.
But where is it?
Oh,
put it in the camera.
You know what? It depends. That's why I'm reading them, because it depends how they have the camera.
Yeah.
Work on homes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Looking at everyone's picture, but not yours.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So you'll notice that they're very short. They're very succinct. I was also asked to make cards that were appropriate for younger students. So I tried to combine the two. So I don't think this takes away any interest for someone who's older to do this, because it's still just as tangible. but it does bring it make it a little bit simpler for kids who are younger to be looking at this, because the research I've heard is that in grade 8 you've already decided if you are a college or a university person, which is I don't know, I don't think that's serving us very well. So I think that gives you some insight into with the skill traits.
I think if colleges could also market, like, I think definitely getting parents out there, but if they marketed the business side of it, or, you know, like you could do a major in business with a minor in skilled trades, so that you're coming out with 2 skill sets, right? Because I think when kids have the opportunity to go into a trade and they actually find the elements that they like of it, but they're appeasing their parents and society by also having that backup business, I think you could see more people kind of getting involved that way. And you also need to have a business sense in order to work within the trades properly. Right? I think I'm just looking at it through a bit of a jaded lens, because the last few projects we've tried to get done at our house have not gone well because the businesses that we were working with were mismanaged. So and I'm not the only one that's had that experience. I know that there are a lot of people that have that experience, and it's because there's such a shortfall. So, you know, looking at that problem through the lens of what we need is that we need 2 elements. We need the business managerial side, and we need to blend it with people that are talented and problem solvers in other ways as well. If you can put those 2 together, it's amazing. And a lot of innovation could come from it as well, just in general innovation.
I love that idea of hybrid programs, and I think your suggestion is a good one. My gut tells me that it doesn't exist yet, and I like it when we think of things that don't exist yet.
So JP, just if I might chime in here, and I just typed in ontario.ca. So we have university students who get their university degree, then go off to college for the practical aspect. And I think, Angela, you provide us with a link to this too. So it's it's beginning, but I think too, what could be important on that thought is the European model and how they have streamed kids a lot younger. And we talk about grade 6 and 7. I think they even start younger, and that's where they have been so successful in their culture about, you know, if you go to university, it's a certain skill set. If you go to skilled trades, it's a certain skill set, and a doctor is no more important than, say, a plumber. And that's a very Eurocentric kind of thought. I've been thinking about this for 15 years. How can we bring that here? And it's been a challenge, and not the bane of my existence, but my background as a chef cook by trade and coming into teaching has afforded me a different perspective. And it's continuing, and we're asking the same questions year and year and year, and we're not getting the answers. But hopefully with things like the Ontario transfer, having academic-minded kids who are kinesthetic, and say it's not a lesser path. It is quite, it's a great path for someone like that, and would be perfect for them. But that's not the message they're getting from young. So it's an ongoing fight for sure.
We actually have a school in our board that students can go to, and at the end of their high school career, they can come out with a welding ticket. So they're not even going away to college or anything. They can already come out with a job in the end. So we could see more of that. The problem is it's hard convincing parents to send their kids to a school like this because mainly it's for students with learning disabilities. So it's high in the skilled trades. There's cooking, there's hairdressing, there's multiple different avenues for the kids. But it's because of the past that this school has had, there's a bad rap about it. But really, it's a great opportunity for a lot of students to go to. But again, it's the big battle is convincing parents that it's the right path for their child.
Systemically, we also have to stop calling them disabilities, because we're talking with one lady and she said varied abilities, and that really is the lens that we need to start looking through it with, because they're brilliant, but just in a different way. And if you look at the big thinkers and the game changers in our society today, the big minds, they all had learning disabilities. and it was their ability to see a problem through a different lens and solve it and attack it creatively that made them who they are, and that gained them the success that they have. So it really is, it has to be a whole societal change, right, in the way that we view things.
Mm-hmm.
Angela, can we do a time check? I think it's
yeah.
almost 8 o'clock. Yeah. Is 8 o'clock our end time for this session?
Yeah, so we generally say from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. just to be respectful of everybody's time. And if you're okay to stay a little bit longer to chat for any questions, that's fine as well. I don't know what your time frame is like.
Sure.
But I
well,
always,
yeah, just before people drop off, I am willing to stay on a few more minutes if there are other questions. But I want to say thank you to the group for being willing to take a different look at the future of work and the challenge method, the challenge cards. I appreciate your comments. I wrote some notes down. I'd love it if you stayed a part of what it is that I'm trying to build. Feel free to join my newsletter on my website. I am building tools. As you see, some of them are free tools. So I'd love to get your feedback and answer all your questions about what they are and how they work, because so far I've gotten a lot of help from people in your position through that feedback, and I want to keep doing that and keep finding ways to help. So thanks in advance for that.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thanks.
It was a very rich and meaningful discussion. And I got to know everybody. It's different knowing everybody here and then reading what you write. So I really, wow, we have some great teacher education people out there. I'm so proud. But thank you for your time, and thank you everybody for your time. I hope you found this valuable. And I will post the resources that JP gives me as well, so that you guys can see them. Okay.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Thank you. You as well. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. And then